Okay, people, let's get started. Welcome, everyone. I appreciate you joining. We'll be discussing for no more than 1 hour today. The goal for today is to discuss about how do we coach remote Scrum teams. I'll be doing a lot of talking, so best of luck to you all, and hope you all enjoy it. So we'll get started. The agenda for today is going to be, we'll talk about a case study which I have from my current engagement. We'll talk about the virtual retrospective I have been running and the challenges that I've been facing. We'll also discuss, based on my learnings, what all things I have tried and has worked for me. You may want to take it back and try it out from your areas. So hopefully that would help you. And towards the end, I might just share a few tools which may help you in your areas. I've been using them extensively, not trying to advertise any of them. But for me, it has worked. And hopefully you will find value in leveraging them. So just a bit about myself. I'm part of an organization called Practice Agile Solutions. Our aim is to help organizations with their agile transformation. And we are into consulting, we are into trainings, we are into coaching, and we provide recruitment services in case you need any agile coaches, Scrum Masters. Feel free to reach out to us. A little bit about me. My name is Purit Doshi, and I'm a Scrum.org licensed trainer. I have been a trainer with Scrum.org for over 2 years now, and I love the journey. It's been pretty good and an awesome community to partner with, collaborate with. At the same time, I'm also a co-organizer of Practice Agile community, to which you have all joined this webinar. And I have overall of 20 years of IT experience. Most of it has been with different banks. I've worked with a lot of American banks. Recently, I've worked with an Indian bank. And in terms of other industries, I work with IT organizations that provide service to big end clients. I have worked with oil and gas industry. And currently, I'm also working, recently, I just started working with a company which is about cancer research. So in terms of my experience, it's been wide variety of experiences. Training is just about 30% of my portfolio. 70% of the times you will find me working on the ground with the teams. So I'm really passionate about it and love the journey so far. I've done my master's in computer science from Worcester Polytechnic Institute in US. And in case you are interested in the workshops, any of the Scrum.org workshops, we do have some coming up, which I have listed over here. Feel free to get in touch with me after the workshop. I'll be happy to help you out. So let's get started with a case study about my sprint retrospective. So as I mentioned earlier, I have been working with an Indian bank. So the situation is we have teams split between 2 locations in India. So in terms of time zone overlap, we pretty much have good overlap, not a problem. And when we were doing it in person, things were working out beautifully. In my case, the way we used to have retrospective is every sprint retrospective, we'll keep trying new formats. There are tons of resources available on internet. If you want to look at different formats, you can run your retrospectives on. So that way team feels like, hey, they are learning something new. So that's one great arrangement. So in person, we used to have a video conference going on between the 2 rooms, and people would be sharing their insights. And somewhere in the location where I would be, we would be whiteboarding our thoughts, a lot of scribbling on the whiteboard. We'll write on stickies any points that are being raised by teams which are in different location. We'll just quickly take notes and put it up on the whiteboard. And we continued brainstorming. We used a lot of liberating structures. If you aren't aware of it, I'll just give you a quick 30-second glimpse of it. It's basically a way to engage everyone inside the room. We have people with different personalities. Some people are very introverted who enjoy being quiet. Some people are extrovert. They enjoy talking, and they are more vocal about their thoughts. How do we make sure that we get the best out of everyone? Right? So liberating structures gives you a lot of different formats. It's available on website, Liberating Structures. Just search it on Google, you'll find it. And I'll be leveraging that. So that way I let people think about the ideas, whatever or thoughts they have individually, and then pair them up and they discuss their ideas further and then group them up in bigger chunks and they continue engaging with each other. It worked beautifully for us, and in person it was awesome, right? And that was something that people really looked forward to during the retrospective, because they came charged up about what little improvements can we bring in for the following retrospective. So we had a lot of action items, like if there are any action items that we can think of for the following sprint, we would just quickly note it down, who would take the accountability, by when are we planning to get it done, how do we know it's going to get done. So we start noting those points like action items down, and later on we take a picture of it and then upload it into the virtual board for the team so they can refer to it regularly during the daily scrum. And towards the end of the sprint, the retrospective, I would make it a habit for team members to just walk up to the other team members in the room, shake their hands, thank them for the effort, and definitely you have to put some citation, right? Hey, buddy, this is something that I was really grappling with. You came in and you really helped me out, and people really love that. So at least by the time they are done with the retrospective, they would step out with a smile on their face, feeling that yes, we really are coming together as a great team. It worked beautifully so far. And then boom, about a couple of months back, situation changed. We actually had to work remotely, and the in-person communication, the collaboration, the energy level, everything changed. And the next retrospective, which was my first virtual retrospective, I want to quickly share my insights about that. We tried doing it virtually, and it was, I'll be honest, it was the first time for me where I have actually got no one from the team seated right next to me or standing right next to me. So it was a little nervous. I was a little nervous, and we bumped into a lot of technical challenges. Like team members kept logging in, dropping off, not on purpose, but because they had some bandwidth issues. So that happened. Then we had collaboration challenges, like, hey, how do we get this thing noted down? And then it generated a bit of chaos. There would be times when multiple people will be talking at the same time and be like, oh, wait, okay, who's going to go next? Wait. So things like that would keep happening, and that would slow us down even further. And to make it worse for me, not that people were doing it on purpose, but a lot of people had their videos off. So because of that, it was more of like, for me, I was actually talking to the black box. You can think about a movie, Charlie's Angels. If you have seen that movie, Charlie's Angel, it's exactly that kind of situation where the angels, the three spies, they are seated in front of a black box, talking to an audio box all the time. And I suddenly felt that that's the kind of feeling I was getting, like, whom am I interacting with, right? So it wasn't a great feeling, and it slowed us down a bit. At the end, we figured out that our conversations were a bit lengthy because we were going in circles, and that we were busting all the time boxes of our conversations. So it was challenging. At the end, capturing the notes, because now we don't have a whiteboard where we can scribble. I would be putting it on my notepad and getting things ready for the team. And I was like, it was getting me tired and exhausted, because all of a sudden someone has to take notes, right? So that happened, and entire team missed the in-person discussions, and it was like challenging. So after the retrospective was over, I noticed that the energy level was down. I had to do a little bit of introspection, like, hey, my old habits of doing in-person retrospectives will not help anymore. What should I do differently? So I was coaching 4 teams, and for the next retrospective, I decided to do a little bit more preparation. I did some research, and towards the end, I figured out what I may want to do. So this is what we did next. For the next retrospective, before I entered, I'm horrible at drawing. You know, if you think about a person having doctor's handwriting, that would be this guy. And I couldn't write on the whiteboard that well, but at least it was something I could scribble. People can still read it. And now if I have to do it on virtual board, if I have to scribble with my mouse, it would be even worse. People will definitely not be able to read it. So I had to do a little bit of free work, and there are a whole bunch of whiteboards which are available on the internet free of charge. And we decided, okay, I collaborate with a few of the team members, and we narrowed down on one tool. We said, okay, we'll use this whiteboard. And before the retrospective, I created my diagram over there. They already had some templates available. I took one of the templates and ensured that I send out the link to the people, like to the entire Scrum team, like, hey, people, we are going to be using this one as our whiteboard for collaboration. So we started with that. The first 5 minutes of the retrospective, we did a little bit of working experiment, because now that we are all virtual, it's a little new ball game for everyone. And we decided, let's keep our cameras on as much as possible. At least while you are talking, as much as possible. If you do not have bandwidth issues, let's keep the cameras on. And in case you want to speak up, you can raise your hands on the camera. You can put it on the chat itself, like on the chat, like, hey, I want to talk about something. So by doing that, we at least reduced the number of times there were overlaps between the team members. And then we started with the virtual liberating structure. So whatever I used to do in person, like we used to have, individually, I would ask people to take a couple of moments to think about their ideas, like what would they like to discuss. So I would ask them to do it the same way, but instead of typing it on the screen, just either scribble it on Notepad or scribble it on the Notepad on their screen for now. And that way it kept them engaged and keep churning. Everyone, like the quietest of the team was engaged. People who are vocal, even they felt engaged. So we started with that. The application we used was this Zoom app. And Zoom has a beautiful feature called breakout room, in which I would send the team into smaller breakout rooms. So something like the table activities we do in person, we did that one virtually. So now I paired people up, let them go into a little, their smaller rooms. They talk with each other, they generate more ideas, they come up with their new thoughts. And then automatically when the time box expires, I pull them out of the room, and then we paired more, we form bigger groups. And that way we got more ideas from the team, so everyone were engaged. So that focused small group discussion, that really helped over here. And at the same time, towards the end of the retrospective, I had another page on the whiteboard, which was available, where people would stick their notes about whom they would like to thank for helping them during the sprint, so everyone can see, right? So we started putting those notes across, and we spent about 5 minutes where people quickly called out, like, hey, I really want to thank ABC for helping me out on these problems. It was really working out well for the people. So that was it. At the same time, at the end of the retrospective, I figured out a couple of things. One is having a co-facilitator who can help you with the breakout rooms and other things can definitely help. If you are going to be facilitating by yourself as Scrum Masters, you might feel a little overwhelmed, right? Have someone co-facilitate for you as well. That would work out better. And the other thing I wanted to add is, I always thought I tend to deter people away from tools. But now that we are seated virtually, we are running a few challenges. And tools become our friends to bridge those gaps, which we are, all of a sudden that we are seeing in our day-to-day work. So this is just a bit on the retrospective front. Now let's talk about what are the challenges that I faced as a Scrum Master working remotely. For people who have worked with me, they would vouch for it. I usually yield a very light touch on the team. I don't intervene too much. Let them talk, right? If they are happy about things, I'll be happy. I don't need to, I don't need to disturb them too much. So most of my conversations with the team were pretty much offline. So I used to miss the water cooler talks. That's what I call it, where you go to a breakout room or a pantry to fill up your water bottle or get a cup of tea or coffee, and over there you might bump into some of your team members and ask them, hey, how are things shaping up for you? And by doing that, I get more insight about how things are going in the team. And at the same time, a lot of my efforts were looking at the team, observing them from a distance and see the energy level in the bay, how things are shaping up. So all these two are now like, I don't have those things that I used to enjoy, like just looking at the team or just walking through the bay, asking people how things are going on, if everything's okay. And that would just trigger some improvised conversations. And then if people say like, hey, you know what, I really feel I need help with this, it would be great if the person PQR would be collaborating with me on this. So we would just quickly have a informal huddle together and discuss things out and resolve the matter. And now that's not happening anymore. So I had to reinvent my coaching approach, the approach where this informal way of engaging the team, how can I do it without having to raise that formal meeting request? Hey, I want to meet with you. Can we connect? No one likes it, right? And things are going a little hectic for the team itself, because now even they have to figure out how can they collaborate remotely. So these were my challenges. And I had to tie it back to what are my accountabilities as Scrum Master. So here's something that I pulled up from the Scrum Guide itself. So my accountabilities, as everyone would know, as Scrum Masters, your accountability is to uphold Scrum Framework. Then the next accountability you can uphold Scrum Framework means people understand what empiricism is about. What do we mean by what are the purpose of the events? What are the accountabilities of different roles? What are the rules of Scrum? Why do we need to be empirical? All those details. So those are the accountabilities that we all know of. The other accountability we can think of is my goal is to build a high-performing team, right? And remove impediments, whatever they are facing. And given that we are working remotely, this is one of the challenges, because now even teams are grappling with staying, keeping themselves high performing with the distant, communication gaps that they might be creeping in, things like that. The other option or the other accountability I have is to lead the organization in Scrum adoption, right? When we have multiple teams, multiple departments, how collectively can we as an organization become more agile? That's the other accountability. And the last one I want to call out is working with other Scrum Masters within the organization to increase the effectiveness of Scrum application. So a good way to learn from each other rather than reinventing the wheel again. And when I looked at these, I figured out these are the three areas which now are getting affected. Because the first point, I know it is still getting affected, but the team members, at least they have been doing it regularly, so they know what is the purpose of the event, what are their accountabilities, how do we bring in transparency in the artifacts. So they knew about those things, but this is where I started feeling that there are more and more challenges that are going to hurt me. So now let me give you what I tried and what worked for me. So here are a few coaching tips. During the initial days, we almost plunged into chaos, right? All of a sudden, the things that were going smoothly are now, falling through cracks. People were slowly started finger pointing, not because they wanted to, but they are getting frustrated. The things that were working smoothly are not happening anymore. So we collectively decided, let's update our working agreement. We all had our virtual working agreements. Earlier ones, we believed it was high time that we go ahead and update it. So collectively as a team, we decided, okay, let's think about what would be our working hours. We know in our teams, we have some people who are early morning birds, some people who enjoy late nights, but we do have that collaboration hours. We need to have a good overlap between ourselves. So now that we are all working from home, let's everyone call out, hey, what are the hours I'll be in the office? Or what are the hours that I'll be working? What are the hours we can collaborate together on? And what are my break timings going to be? Because some people eat early lunch, some people eat late lunch, things like that. Let's just exclusively call it out now. We also decided to have a no meeting zone where people would say, hey, between these 2 hours every day, let's ensure that we do not have meetings so we can focus. Now, no meeting does not mean do not collaborate. It also can be a different way. Well, you can quickly just discuss with each other and start working together if you are doing pair programming, stuff like that. But we decided collectively that, hey, these 2 hours are off the limits. Let people focus on the work so they can continue, because all of a sudden people started seeing more and more meeting invites cropping up in their on the calendar, right? We also decided on hey, when do we need to have meetings versus when do we just pick up the phone and talk to each other, versus can we just put it on the chat? If anyone has to read it, that person can read it. Same thing with email. If there's, we are not expecting anyone to reply back or anyone to have conversation with us. We don't need to have meeting. Let's just document it in email. Maybe that would be a better approach. So we just decided on how we categorize when to have meetings versus just pick up the call, the phone and have a casual call, or just put it on the group chat, or we use email just to make sure, hey, people, FYI, this is what I wanted to share with you. At the same time, there are some people, I know in office, we all complain, sometimes it becomes too noisy. There was a chance, some people said, we are missing that office noise, the buzz that we had in our working area, the bay, there used to be that, always that energy level, we are missing that. So the team decided, hey, how do we handle it now? Some people wanted to go back at that level. So they said, how about this? Maybe during the initial part, like 9 to 9:30 or 9 to 9:45, we just open a group video chat. Whoever wants to dial in, just dial in. We at least say hi to each other. And we just, you can keep your phone on mute. If you need to just go back to work, you can do that. If anyone wants to talk to someone, just ping on chat and I can put my headset on and we can have a conversation. So team decided, let's experiment with this. So at least if it helps, we can continue. If it doesn't help, we stop. So we started with that experiment and some of the team members liked it. It was not a mandate. Whoever liked it, you continue with that. You don't like it, it's okay. You don't need to join it, right? So that at least you feel that there is some of your team members along with you who are working right now. So we started with that. The next point I wanted to raise is I wanted to create opportunities to connect with the teams. How do we do that? So without imposing on people, I just looked at their break schedules and I would ask people, hey, you are supposed to be breaking for tea, coffee around this time. Can we just have a quick virtual tea, coffee? You can go ahead, bring your tea, coffee. We can just stand and talk to each other, or you can sit down and we can just have a casual chit chat. So that way, at least I get to hear from you all if there is anything you need help with, right? Because usual tendency is you don't want to pick up the phone and talk to people, right? So that also helped in terms of getting some feedback, like what's going on in the delivery timeline, if people are facing some challenges. So we used to do that, and we categorically made it a point, hey, during our casual conversations, let's not bring in any negative energy. We are not going to talk about the virus. We are not going to talk about the containment zone. We are not going to do any of those negative talking. Let's all focus on something positive or something that we all want to talk about, even if it's some family stuff, any casual chit chat, but keep it positive. So that way we don't get bogged down with those negative vibes. So that one. The other thing is now with so many things going in, in different directions, because we are working remotely, things would, something or the other would go wrong frequently. When that happened, we decided, let's not wait for 2 full weeks because our sprint length was 2 weeks. Let's not wait for 2 full weeks for retrospective. If people believe that, hey, this is something which is recurring quite often, we would quickly have like 20 minutes retrospective where we just get on a bridge. We discuss out, hey, what's going on? Here's the problem statement. How do we fix it? How can we fix one of our, remote working process? So by doing that, either we would update the virtual working agreement, we have a conversation and keep things going rather than waiting for full 2 weeks before we bump into what can we do to fix it. So that helped. It was not something that we decided like we'll do it at this cadence, but we said we'll do it as and when needed. So initially there were more of these, and as things progressed, the number of retrospectives that we needed slowly came down. The other tips I want to give, promote deeper collaboration. I know when it comes to in-person, people really enjoy, like, hey, we can do pair programming, we can do swarming. We can still do it virtually, right? If you want to do pair programming, you can do a remote pairing if need be. You can still do a swarming remotely where team members can quickly get on the bridge and they can, one of the team members can share the screen and everyone will have a good conversation around how they want to approach a particular module. Brainstorming session, promote that, encourage your team to go ahead for deeper collaboration, to bring them together, because now that we are all working remotely, people tend to go back into their silos. This is one approach to bring them back, like, hey, we are all together in it. Let's work, let's get things rolling. Don't become nervous about being alone at things. The other part that I had was, since like most of us, we don't work with just one Scrum team, we would be having multiple teams working together on one product. So we had to scale. So when it came to working remotely, the bigger challenge was, how do we collaborate virtually across teams now? So this is where I used to have representatives from the team, across team, to come together regularly. Like, hey, if we have dependency, we had our dependencies board, let's keep collaborating. Don't drop the ball on that one, because your goal is to have a program success, not just with one team, but across the entire program. How can we do that? I collaborated with other Scrum Masters and then the representatives from the team. We came together, continued the collaboration. At the same time, this is one word which I have trouble always saying, camaraderie, right? I said it well, good. So encourage them to have some fun. You know, you don't need to be serious when it comes to conversation across different teams. We used to have very good light-hearted conversation across teams where people really had a gala time. And when it came to virtual workshop, it started becoming serious. And I would just probe them like, hey, what happened? Why are you so formal now? And people started opening up. And then we saw that, hey, the team energy across teams was still there, right? So that would help. The other thing is people start developing new habits when they work remotely. You may want to think about whether the new habits are going to help the team or hurt the team. Be very closely tuned to your team members' behaviors. You can see them, their behavior during different events, like different conversations. Make sure you have the pulse check on that, right? So that way, if you believe that any of the habits are getting developed, which may work counter to having a high-performing team, you may want to start fixing this soon. The other thing I always do is have a one-to-one conversation with the team members, even if it's for 5 to 10 minutes, just to see if they are doing well. You know, if everything's fine at their personal front, or even you know, professional front. If anyone wants to talk about the personal front, I don't mind, right? So earlier, when we were in office, we wouldn't be seated in front of the computers for 8 full hours, right? We would have a lot of meetings, a lot of face-to-face conversations with the team members. So that would keep us away from the machines, our laptops, or our PCs. But now our entire conversations were on the computer itself. So that puts a lot of stress on not just your eyes, your energy level, and a lot of other issues. So I would encourage the team to, hey, take frequent short breaks, even if it's for 5 minutes, just stretch, walk around a bit, you know, look outside, get some sunlight, set some routine so it becomes a habit for you, right? I would coach teams to do that. The other aspect I always said, like, manage your calendar appropriately. The teams had difficulty because we are at home, we started having calls early, late, things started going in all directions. This was the moment where I told people, like, hey, you know what, you don't need to attend all the meetings. If you believe there is zero value for you to attend, it's okay to say no. Like, hey, you know what, maybe this meeting is something which I don't need to attend. Why should you? Then don't attend, it's okay. And limit your personal distractions. That was another thing I had to tell, I couldn't say that, but I coached the team on, like, hey, it's okay to get distracted. We are all at home. We have our personal, you know, loved ones around. Great, spend time with them. But when it comes to work, if you know that that can distract you away from your work, you may not be able to do justice to both your personal front and work front. You may want to think how you want to handle it. It's good if you can have your own personal office space within home. If that works out, great, go for it, right? So that's the other aspect I wanted to share. A few more tips from my side. Now, this was going beyond the teams. I would have regular connects with other Scrum Masters to see how things are shaping up in their areas. So that way, collectively, we learn from each other and help each other out. So there were certain times when there were ideas from some other teams. I went back to my team and said, hey, do we want to try this out? It worked beautifully. So we would experiment with that. So that way, collectively, we do not end up reinventing the wheel, keep learning from each other. Now with these remote working situation, I had to have some meetings with leadership to bring them up to speed with the kind of challenges that the team's grappling with. Sometimes the servers would be slow, infra would be a challenge, or something or the other. So we would bubble those challenges up, which may slow down the team, right? At the same time, if you are a Scrum Master, I'll suggest this heavily. Find a friend in the infrastructure team, because a lot of a lot of organizations, most of the time your infra team is seated somewhere quietly. You may not have much contact with them. Hey, this might be a perfect time to start making friends over there, because that would help getting things resolved faster, right? And the last point I would definitely want to add in this: bring in all your positivity. Remember one thing, you are there to help the team, and that you should be the last one to get bogged down. So first thing, start composing yourself, understand what are your learning areas, how do you want to improve first, and bring that positivity back into your working culture and take it to the team, help them out, bring the best out of your team by doing that, right? So these are some tips that I wanted to share from my side based on my learnings with so many teams that I've been working with over the last couple of months. Just one last point I wanted to add. In terms of the video calls, if you want to have those short conversations or breakout sessions, Zoom would work out beautifully for you. I would suggest go for Zoom. The charges are nominal; it's quite affordable. If you still want smaller group, freeware, you can go for Google Meet. I'm sure your offices, most of them would have Skype. It works beautifully. Unfortunately, I don't think Skype has a facility where you can have a breakout session within the group itself. So that's something you may want to consider. In terms of collaboration tools, these are two of the whiteboards, Miro and Mural. These have a lot of features in them. If you want, go for it. It may take a little while for your team to get used to it. But once they are used to it, it's beautiful whiteboards that you can use. I believe most of the features are free. You can use it without any issues. It allows you to make edits anonymously. So that's one. If you want to play it simple, don't want to overcomplicate things, Google Drive is another approach. This is where you can just have a Google Sheet where people can quickly go in and edit. It allows for multiple edits together. That one works fine as well. If you're looking for a certain backlog management tool, you can go for Trello, right? So these are some tools that I wanted to share with everyone. And I think I'm done with my points, whatever I wanted to raise. I'm opening the floor up for questions. If you have any, please type them out on the chat window. My aim was to give you a small tidbit. So these are just some things. I still have a lot of things I can share regarding different events, like how do we run great sprint planning remotely, how do we run other events remotely, which can still be so powerful, right? It takes a lot of practice. I'm sure you all have your story, which would be great if we can share with each other. But if you have any ideas, feel free to reach out to me. I can publish it to the team so everyone can learn from each other, right? That's it from my side. I want to open the floor up for questions. And let me see. Okay. So how do we get the pulse of the team members? Can you please share any examples? So let me put it this way. To get the pulse of the team, you may want to have a lot of casual conversations with your team members. How do I do that? As I mentioned earlier, I used to have tea, coffee breaks with them to at least hear firsthand information. How are things shaping up for them? That's one. At times, it's okay. You don't need to be in front of the cameras. Now that we are remote, I just pick up the phone and call them up. Like first, send a message on WhatsApp. Like, hey, do you have a couple of minutes? I just want to say hi. Doing that, and if the person's available, I just quickly pick up the phone and talk to the person on a audio call. And I was like, hey, how are things? Sometimes people, all they need is someone coming and saying, hi, hope things are going well with you. The moment you say that, people really love it. Like, hey, you know what? Someone's there taking care of me, who is really, empathizing with me. And sometimes people appreciate it and they do open up. For me, it has worked out beautifully. In person, for me, best thing I would say, Deepashri, take them out for ice cream. Ice cream works like a charm. Tea, coffee, great. Ice cream, even better, right? So that's one. Now let's look at it. I'm getting some messages from others. How can we make team members talk during the retrospective? So Sundar, I'll just quickly put it this way. There are people who are a bit introverted. How do we make them talk? First and foremost, as Scrum Masters, you want to make sure that it's a safe environment where people feel happy that, hey, I can speak up. If people do not feel safe, they will not speak up during the retrospective. So just sit with some of the team members who are quiet initially, or later on after the retrospective, to understand, hey, why are you quiet? Is everything okay? If they say that, yeah, that's my nature, I don't usually talk too much, then you know that, okay, these are the folks who are more on the quieter side. For that, you would use a liberating structure, which I said earlier. First, give people a couple of moments to ponder individually. Let them think about the ideas they want to talk about, what they want to discuss with the team. Let them take notes of it, and then pair them up. You don't ask someone who's quiet to talk in front of a larger audience in one go. My approach is pair them up with someone they believe they are comfortable talking to. Let them go have a conversation, right? Once they have the conversation, collectively they can bring their ideas together further. And then let the pair, if they are not comfortable talking louder, let the other person do the talking to the entire team. That might be a good approach. So that way their voices are heard as well. If it's not a safe environment, it's going to be your job to fix it, right? Don't assume that it will be fixed by itself. You may want to think about what's going wrong and how can you make things change. So based on your context, you'll have to figure out your next step. Okay, next one. It's as usual, nice session. Okay, thanks, Ram. Appreciate it. Okay, one more question. Amid the current situation, there are high chances that remote working will be the norm. How do you keep the human engagement going? How do you ensure coaching remote is meaningful? Could you please share some experiences? So yes, I get it. Right now, it seems like more and more organizations will be working remotely, may have a larger chunk of the workforce working remotely. In that case, I know nothing beats the in-person connect we have with our colleagues. At the same time, when you are working remotely, how do we stay effective? I have already shared some tips based on my retrospective. I have shared some tips based on what I have learned so far. In terms of other approaches I can think of, have more conversations with the team without being an impediment to yourself. So that way you start understanding how they feel, how things are shaping up. Learn from each other. Connect with the other Scrum Masters, see what has worked for them. Learn from them. Sometimes instead of reinventing the wheel, it's better to learn from other people's mistakes. I think that's valuable, right? So that's one. And I think if people find value in their conversations with you, they will automatically come back to you again, asking like, hey, Scrum Master, we need your help, right? If that's not happening, you may want to retrospect within yourself, like, what I may be doing wrong. Do I need to fix something from my side to help the team, right? Unfortunately, I've seen a lot of areas where people do not see value in their conversations with the Scrum Masters. And there might be multiple reasons behind it. Figure out what's going on. You may want to try a new trick. Maybe get a mentor for yourself. If you are working with a team, if there is another Scrum Master, you trust the person, bring that person on your calls to see what are his or her observations. get the feedback straight from others. So that way you know what you may want to work upon. Cool. Any other questions? I do not have other questions. Okay, one other question. Team members are not coming forward to pick up stories in planning sometimes. How to handle that? Great question. Sundar, here's something that I can say. Number one, do the team members feel that they are working towards any purpose? Meaning what I say, do they understand what's the product vision? What are we trying to achieve? If your team members are not charged about the work that they are doing, the project that they are working on, they will not come forward and start working on stories that you are looking for, right? So that's step number one. Second thing, you may want to have a conversation with them to see whether they are, they are finding value in their current work, understand their concerns, have that conversation with them and keep it candid and keep it safe. You tell them that whatever we talk about is not going to be leveraged against you. I'm not going to talk to your line manager or anyone. I just want to understand what's happening so I am able to help you out. So once you see that, once you have that conversation, hopefully it would, it will reveal some information for you. Based on that, you may want to chalk out the next step. Somehow I suspect it's the first case where they do not see purpose on what they are working for. The second thing you may want to try is, at the end of the sprint planning, ask everyone a simple question. What is the goal? Don't tell me that, hey, we are supposed to be delivering these 10 stories. Ask them brutal question like, by delivering these stories, what are we achieving for our customers? If they are not able to answer it, most likely, I believe that's what's going to happen. They won't be able to answer it. That means they do not see any purpose for running the sprint. Figure out how to make your sprints more effective. Work with the product owner to see, hey, are we just working on stories or are we working towards a vision, working towards a goal? What are we trying to achieve for our customers? If you start fixing that, I believe the rest of the stuff will automatically start falling in place. Okay, I do not see any further questions. No, nada. I don't see any further questions. I hope you all found this valuable. Appreciate everyone joining. Thanks for your time. Have a good day. Have a good evening. Talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.